Hey, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make our granny square skirt. The yarn that I'm using for this tutorial is Comfy Sport Weight yarn, and I'm using the color Parchment, Silver Sage, Flamingo, Ivory, and Seafoam. You will need two hook sizes for this pattern, a 4mm as well as a 4.5mm crochet hook. So you will begin this pattern by working the number of granny squares you need for the size you're working on. So head over to the blog or purchase the PDF so you can follow along to see how many squares you'll need for your size. I'm going to show you two methods of making the granny square. So sort of the traditional method where we have all of these tails to weave in, but I'm also going to show you a little trick to use the thumb join to join on your new colors so that you're only left with your starting tail and your ending tail to weave. If you're watching this video on its release, I will have a crochet along happening in my Facebook community group if you want to come ahead and join us. Also, there is an ebook available that is going to have a collection of my summer patterns that you can check out in the description box below. Although this pattern is using simple beginner-friendly stitches, I will work through the pattern fairly quickly. If you need to slow down the video, click on the gear icon below the tutorial and pick a slower speed. If you're new to crochet, you may want to watch my beginner tutorial on how to double crochet before beginning this pattern. So for this pattern, we're going to need to make 36 granny squares. So I have already made a bunch and I'm using all of my colors. All of them are bordered with the ivory, and I've just alternated the other 4 colors. So in total I have 12 different color patterns. So for each color pattern you will need to make 3 for this size. So here's 2, and I'm going to show you how to make the third. You can head to the blog to see all of the color combinations you need to make, and that will ensure that you use about the same amount of each color when working up this pattern. So this combination is beginning with our Silver Sage. So let's begin with a magic ring. Wrap the yarn around your index finger 3 times, sliding your hook through, pulling the first, and we'll chain 3. Then we'll work 2 double crochets in the ring. Our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. So there's our first cluster. Chain 1, work 3 double crochets. Chain 1, work 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 1 more cluster of 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 clusters of 3s. And now we'll pull our ring tight. So take your tail. One of your loops is going to pull in and the other loop stays bunched out. So take the loop that's pulled, give it a tug. It's going to pull that other loop in, and then take your tail. Now we'll slip stitch in the top of the first double to join, and we're going to fasten off. And we won't leave the tails too long as we cut them. Now, the third square, we can reverse the pink and the parchment if we want, but I'm just going to continue. I'll work them just up identical to these. So next I'm using Flamingo. Okay, and I've joined into the chain 1 space. So here's the chain 3, 2 doubles, and I'm joining into that first chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3 for our first double. We'll then work 2 double crochets, chain 1, and in the same space 3 double crochets. We're making this into a square now. Okay, so this makes our first corner. We'll chain 1, work 3 doubles, chain 1 and 3 doubles, the next corner is made, chain 1, in our next chain 1 space, 3 doubles, chain 1, 3 doubles, chain 1, and our last chain 1 space, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3. We'll chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch into the first double to join, and then we can fasten off. Tail's just long enough for weaving. Now we'll come across and we're going to join into the next chain 1 space. So into the chain 1 space. And again, we're just leaving the tails long enough that we can weave them. We'll chain 3, work 2 doubles, chain 1 and 3 doubles for our corner, chain 1, and in the chain 1 space we'll work 3 doubles, chain 1, in the chain 1 space we'll do another corner. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and we're going to repeat this around. So we'll do 3 doubles, and then we do a corner, 3 doubles, a corner, 3 doubles. So I'm going to work that around and then I'll meet you up. Okay, so now we'll slip stitch. I've chained 1, we'll slip stitch in the first double to join, and we'll fasten off. As you can see, we do have lots of tails to weave with this pattern, and you can really do what you prefer, weave them as you go or wait till the end. I have left most of mine to sit and do at the end, but it can be overwhelming to do all those ends at once, so weave them as you go if you prefer that. So now again, here's our join. We're going to go over to that first chain 1 space. We're going to join in with our final color, and your square should end up at 4 inches for your sizing to be correct. So chain 3, we'll work our corner, so 2 doubles, chain 1, and then 3 doubles, chain 1, and now this time we have 2 places to put our 3 doubles before our next corner. And you could continue making this granny square bigger if you wanted, but for this pattern, this 4-inch size works out well. Chain 1, and then we're going to work another corner. So this is just very repetitive. We'll do 3 doubles, chain 1 and 3 doubles. They actually work up very quickly. It's those weaving the tails that take the time. So I'm going to continue working around. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. I've chained one, and I just like to slip stitch into the top of the first double rather than the chain 3, but you could slip stitch in the top of the chain 3 as well. Fasten off, and then we can weave in all those tails. So again, go to the blog so you can see all the different color patterns. There are 12 in total. Depending on the size you're making, follow along with how many squares you need to make. I'm making our small size, so I need to make a total of 36, which will result in a 36-inch hip size. Of course, this will have a little bit of stretch. So if your hips are a bit bigger and you want it snug, then that should fit. So as you go up in sizes, you're adding another square and then however many down you need. So if you were going up to 40 inches, you would need 40 squares. And because you would be making now if you wanted to make it longer than what I've made it, then you would need to do more squares as well. But mine are going to be 4 squares long. I'm going to show you how to make the square by eliminating all of those tails to weave. The only tails you'll need to weave will be your starting and ending tail, instead of all of the tails that are required with all of these color changes. So this will require the thumb joining the yarn to do this. So there will be some little knots throughout, but if you really hate weaving in all those tails but still want a colorful granny square, you might like this option. So I'm using my 4.5mm crochet hook, and let's make a magic ring. Take the hook, sliding it through all 3 loops, pull the first loop through, and we'll chain 3, and this counts as our first double crochet. Now we'll work 2 doubles. So we have our first cluster. Now we'll chain 1, work 3 double crochets. For our next cluster, chain 1, 3 doubles, for our third cluster, chain 1 and 3 doubles for the final cluster. Chain 1. Now I'm going to pull the ring tight. So I've just moved my work out of the way to see those loops. Start pulling, only 1 loop's pulling in. Take the loop that's pulled, give it a tug. It's going to pull that other loop. Take your tail. Now what we need to do is figure out where we need to snip the yarn. So I'm going to slip stitch into the chain, the starting chain, and then into the next double crochet, the next double crochet, and the chain 1 space. So this is getting me in position, okay, for the next round. We're then going to trim because we know this is how much we need of this color, okay? So take that off. We're just going to pull this back a little bit so we have that tail, okay, so that we can do our thumb join. Okay, so I don't want to pull that stitch out, so you're going to have to just work with that little bit. Okay, my next color I'm going to work with is the pink. So I'm going to take this yarn in my thumb and index finger. I'm going to bring in the new color, just putting that tail right beside. Okay, so I'm pinching the tails between my thumb and index finger. I'm going to take the yarn I'm bringing in, I'm going to wrap it around my thumb and the yarn 2 times. The third time I'm going to wrap between the tails and my thumb. Then I'm going to take the tails, I'm going to tuck them down, I'm going to pinch with my thumb and pull to make a nice tight knot. Now I can join back on and finish off my round. So I chain 1, slip stitch into the chain, slip stitch in the next double, the next double, the chain 1 space. That knot can sometimes be a little bit of a nuisance, but we're going to get in here and chain 3. Okay, and then we're going to continue with our second round. So for this round, we will work 2 doubles, chain 1, and then 3 doubles all in the same space. Okay, so that's going to make our first corner. We'll chain 1. In the next chain 1 space, we'll work 3 doubles. Chain 1 and 3 doubles. Chain 1. And we're going to do the same thing in the next chain 1 space and the next chain 1 space. Okay, and we'll chain 1, and we again are going to do our slip stitch in the chain. We're going to slip stitch across. Okay, to the chain 1 space, because this is where we're going to start the next round. Again, we can just flip and we can cut our yarn. We really need to make sure these knots are nice and tight and secure, but if this for any reason makes you really nervous, just work your regular method and weave in those tails, okay? So this is just a trick if you really, really hate weaving in tails and you want a faster way to make a granny square. So what we're going to do now is bring in our blue. Okay, so again, I'm bringing it in beside the new color, getting my tails, 1, 2, and then we're going the thumb and the tails. We're going to take these little tails, we're going to tuck them, and I just pinch and pull. Okay, and now we're going to finish up again. Chain 1, sometimes you may have to readjust, get the right tension to get this pulled through. That knot is making a little tight. And then we will chain 3 and work our 2 double crochets for our corner. Okay, so we are going to have these little knots. Sometimes you can squish them around and make them not as noticeable. Push them to the back or whatever. Chain 1 and we'll do 3. Chain 1. So now we have our corner. Now this will be just our 3 doubles. Chain 1, and then we're to another corner again. So we work our 3 doubles, chain 1, and 3 doubles. Chain 1, then we're in between here, we just do our 3 doubles and work this all the way around. Okay, so I've chained 1, I'm going to slip stitch in my chain, starting chain, and slip stitch across the first double, the next double, and into the chain 1 space to set me up for the final round. Again, I'm going to give it a trim. And finally, we're going to be joining in with our cream. Thumb join may take a little practice, but once you get the hang of it, it comes in very useful for many projects. But again, if you're struggling, just do it the normal way and weave those tails. So I'm going to just take my tails, I'm going to tuck them. Chain 1. One, 2, 3. Okay, and now I'm going to finish this final round. So my corner will have 2 doubles, chain 1, and then work 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Now we'll have 3 doubles, and then we're to another corner again. So just work this all the way around. Okay, so after making all my squares, I have approximately 20 to 21 grams left on my colors. So I've only used about 30 grams of each to make my 36 squares. Now I have about 20 grams left of the ivory as well, but I'd already used a full ball. So I used 50 and another 30, so about 80 grams of the ivory. So I'm going to be doing the flat slip stitch join to join my squares together. Now, because it may be difficult to see, I'm going to use a different color just to demonstrate this for you. So let's take 2 of our squares and the right sides are facing up. We're going to be joining down into this chain 1 down here in the corner. So make sure to identify that. I'm going to make a slip knot and put it on my hook. Now what you're going to do is find that chain 1 stitch, and you can see the 2 loops here. We're going to go to that outer loop, which will be the inside of the seam. So let's go through there. We're going to come over to our other square, finding that chain 1 corner as well, and we're also going to the outside, which will be the inside of our stitch here. So we now have these 3 loops on the hook. You want to have your yarn going underneath up in the center here. You'll now yarn over, and you're going to pull through all the loops on your hook. Now what you're going to continue to do is go through each stitch, and we want the stitch this to the inside. We're going front to back, then we're coming over to this side and we're going front to back, pulling through. over and pulling through. Now you can do this, really seam them together in your preferred method, that's fine. Whoops. Okay, so you're going to continue all the way across, and this is how we're going to seam all of our squares together. Okay, so once you get all the way up, to continue joining more of the squares, we're just going to continue as we have been. We're going to find our chain one space. We're going to go we're going to do the same thing here. Now we just want to make sure again that our yarn is to the back. Okay, and then we're going to pull through. And continue working just as we have. Whoops. Okay, so then we'll continue now, joining all the way up, and then we can come over and I'll show you how to join your square this way. So you're going to want to follow along with your pattern for how many squares you're joining. And I will complete joining all mine together off camera, but I'm going to show you how we work coming across this way as well. Okay, so I've joined on down here the same as I showed you before. I've come all the way up. Now I'm coming to the center. So now as I worked, I kept my working yarn underneath this section here. So I'm coming up to where I need to come across, and you can see this elongated stitch right here. We're going to work through the stitch. We're going to come over to this side, and you can see the elongated stitch here. Because this could do a little bit of gapping, we can go through the front loop instead. Let me just get that through. Okay. Yarn over and pull that through. Okay, and then our next stitch, yarning over and pulling through. You can see it nicely goes across. Now I just joined on another color because I didn't want to cut any of this yarn. I just want to show you how it's going to look because I'm doing mine in the ivory, so it's going to look like this. But just so it's easier for you to see how I'm working, I did it in the different colors. So then you just continue going, adding as many squares as you need. So you could work really however you want. We need to have, for this size, a total of 9 in one direction and then 4 in the other direction. I finished seaming together all of the skirt, so it's all finished. And I started working around, and what I did is I joined in working a single crochet. So we're working a single crochet for every join. And then we're going across 12 stitches. So I'm going to pull this back and just show you. And this is how I worked it all the way around. So right here, we're doing a single crochet, and you'll go across 3. We'll skip over the chain 1 space. I'm also using my smaller hook for this. So 1, 2, 3. So we're just going in the double crochets. Skip. And then we should be ending with 3. And you do that all the way around, and now I'm coming to the end. I'm going to slip stitch to join. Whoops, my kitty just, no, Taffy. Okay, and then we'll slip stitch to join. And I'm gonna work around again, just in single crochets. Chain 1, so just work around in every stitch. Okay, so I've worked around 119. Or 118. I've slip stitched to join, and now what we want to do is some decreases so that the waistband isn't so large. So what we're going to do is work across 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to decrease the next 2 together. 5 and 6 will get decreased together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then decrease stitch 5 and 6 together. And we're going to do that all the way around. Okay, so I'm working around, and now it's not going to end evenly, so I have 4 stitches remaining. And what I'm going to do is work a single crochet in the next 2, and then I'm going to do another decrease, and this will give me an even number of stitches, so I should have 98 stitches around now. I'm going to slip stitch to join. And now I'm just going to work around 1 again in every stitch. So chain 1, you should be working around a total of 98. Okay, so I've worked around 98. We're going to slip stitch in our first single crochet to join. And now we're going to do a ribbed band around, and you can alter the width of this if you want. I'm going to go with 11 stitches, so it will be, or 11 chains, so it will be 10 stitches in width. Okay, and work a single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each chain across. So that is 1 row, and we'll skip over that first slip stitch. We're going to slip stitch into the next 2. So now we're going to turn, we're going to skip those slip stitches that we just made, and we're going to work a single crochet in the back loop only. So this will be row 2 for that first slip stitch, and then we're going to work back down another row, which will be for the other slip stitch we made. So we're basically working around the same number of rows as we have stitches. So we'll be working a total of 98 rows. So just when we're doing a normal ribbing, single crochet in the back loop ribbing, we're working it the same way, but we're slip stitching it to join it. So we'll chain one, turn our work again, and single crochet in the back loops only. And sometimes it's good to count so we don't lose a stitch. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and now look at, we already slip stitched into this stitch, so now we need to go into the next 2. And then we will work 2 more rows for the slip stitches that we just made. Okay, so we skip over the slip stitches, continuing to work. So we're just working this all the way around now. Okay, so this is going to be the ribbing, and we'll just give it a quick little measure so you can make any alterations if you want. So it's about 2 inches. So I'm going to continue now working that around off camera, and I will meet you back up when I have it complete. Okay, so I've completed the skirt. Once I finished working my band around, I just slip stitched it to join. Now you could fasten off and use a yarn needle to seam it together as well. So now when you put the skirt on, if you slip it over your head rather than pulling it up over the hips, it won't stretch your waistband out as much. So that's just a little tip when putting it on if you don't want to stretch this out, because this yarn will stretch out and it's not super elastic, so it will stay stretched out slightly. So just putting it over your head will help to keep its shape a little bit better. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell so you stay updated on all my new videos and tutorials. Make sure to click through the links in the description box. It will have all of the details, link to the pattern, link to the blog, and the supplies. Thanks so much, guys. Have an awesome day.